Hi everyone. I'm your host Laura from Wassup Everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. And I'm coming to you live with my boots on the ground at our local abortion mill called Greenville Women's Clinic. My husband and I try and get here about once a month on a Saturday, and I've had a lot of friends lately asking me what's it like here, what do we do, what's our purpose, kind of thing. So I just wanted to do a video tour so you can get a better idea of what we're doing and to know why we're doing it. And why we're doing it is, the main reason we're out here is we want to save souls and babies. So we don't sugarcoat what's going on and that moms and dads are here to murder their babies in their wombs, but we don't sugarcoat the grace part either. So, we equally balance the law and grace, because both things are what the gospel's about. So, yeah, and that's pretty much what we do. We're out here to mainly be a presence. A lot of people hold signs and give out literature to the cars that stop in the driveway, and I'll explain that as I go further on. But we are definitely not chaining ourselves to the front door so they can't get in. That was like, I don't know, 1 or 2 generations before me. So, but we seek to abide by the law, so we stay on the public property. We don't go on their property. And we all get along with the officers, and they uphold the Constitution. So it's a nice little thing we have going out here in Greenville, South Carolina. Okay, so I'm gonna start the tour. All right, flip the camera vertical to give the tour. So I'm just gonna start from go left to right so you can see what we do. So we'll start with the sign. So this is Greenville Women's Clinic, T.W. Campbell and T.L. Buffkin, a family planning facility. They are not officially tied with Planned Parenthood. They're an independent abortion mill, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of ties with them, if they work with them somehow. And the reason why I call it a mill, abortion mill, that's just kind of the language that the majority of us use across the country and the world who do this. So, because it is a murder mill, so we generally call them abortion mills, just to get some 101 lingo down. Alright, here's some signs. Here's some signs that are out. Alright, one of the guys that normally comes out here, he sets up like this loudspeaker system, usually playing music through or different things, and he'll sometimes preach through that. And my husband preaches at the hill over there, which I'll show later. And so now this fence and this section, this side section right here, now rumor has it that a friend of mine that now has 12 kids, I believe, she used to come here regularly, and her kids would line up all on the side along here holding up signs facing into the mill. So, and rumor has it they put up this side fence because of that. So that seems to be like their defense tactic, putting up fences to try and block us out. And if I could show it, which I can't, the architecture of the building, there's bars on the windows. It's all hidden by bushes, and you really have to drive back in the driveway to get there. So even the architecture is just showing it's a place of darkness, which is interesting. Okay, and I just found, this is what I wanted to see. Okay. Speaking of the architecture here, you see these things? That's like a 3-inch thorn. So they've literally planted bushes that have like killer thorns on them here. And when you go up on the hill, like there's all these types of thistles and bushes that are here that they try and use to keep us away from like preaching on the fence. So, even right down to the vegetation, they're rebelling against God in their hearts to try and keep us away. So that's a little funny element to point out. Oh, and I just want to show this place next door to the left of the mill. This is the Piedmont Women's Center. Yes, Piedmont Women's Center. Now, they used to be in this building, and they've now moved across the street to over here, to a much nicer facility and bigger. And took them a little bit to build it, but we're very grateful to have that here, because part of what we try and do, I'm going to turn back to over here. Part of what we try and do, a big part of what we try and do is to get people to go across to them, because they are full of resources. They give a free pregnancy test, free ultrasound, for pregnancy support, for for adoption support, and all that. So in addition to sharing the gospel and handing out literature and trying to talk to people, we try and get them to go across the street, because that's a really handy resource to have there. Okay, so this is my friend Jim, and I'm just gonna do a quick little interview with him. So how long have you been coming out here for?
Coming out for about 8 or 9 years, and what we really wish to do is reach out to people with love and let them know we really care about them, and they have many, many alternatives rather than going into an abortion center. That life is precious, it is an image of God, and their mother gave them life, and we want them to give their baby life. And they have many, many alternatives to going to an abortion center. Right across the street is a free pregnancy care center. They do free ultrasounds, free pregnancy tests, free STD testing. They truly want to help people. The doctors inside the abortion center want their money. They don't care about you, they just care about their money.
So what's your main motivation that kind of keeps you coming?
My name is Jim, and I'm here because I truly love and care about the souls of the people coming in and out of here, and I care about the babies and the babies' lives. It's very, very important to save the souls and convince them not to give up such a precious gift as life itself.
Okay, and the cars are probably gonna, I should have brought my mic. I didn't think about it this morning, trying to get out the door with the baby and all that. And and one thing I want to point out is I'm Reformed Baptist and Jim is Catholic, but and we've definitely had our discussions about those things, but we still we're able to come out here and serve together for the purpose of saving these babies as well. So,
and that's the important thing, is following our Father's will, and we can unite. It doesn't matter what faith someone is. People coming out here can all unite and follow God's will, and God's will is for these babies to live, and for these men and women going in and out to save their souls.
All right, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have Jack with me right now, and just want to ask you similar questions to what I asked Jim. So how long have you been doing this for?
Well, I started in Charlotte probably about 10 years ago. And when I moved here, I was actually traveling back up to Charlotte, doing that hour-and-a-half, 2-hour drive on a Saturday morning. I'd get there at 9 and stay there till 12, and then I found out there's an abortion clinic here. So I've been here about 5 years, I'm thinking.
Okay. Do you live in the Greenville area?
I do now,
okay.
Yeah.
But at one point you were traveling?
Yeah, because I had lived in the Charlotte area, Waxhaw, and so I was involved with the people there, and so I would go there on a Saturday morning. I wasn't aware of the abortion clinic here in Greenville.
Okay.
When I became aware, then I thought, why am I making the trip there? I can come here and do what they're doing here.
Okay. So, and I pointed out this loudspeaker. So what do you kind of do with that setup?
Well, I do try to set the tone with worship music, and also songs that apply, like Glorious Day, that talk about life changing and that God is able, and like Waymaker and songs like that to encourage these people to change and get involved with the music. And we actually had one woman, I think we were playing Waymaker, and she was singing along with the song inside, and she came out down this driveway crying, saying, "Here I am sitting in there for an abortion, and I'm singing this song. It's like one of my favorite songs, and I'm thinking about getting an abortion." She realized that she couldn't go through with it just because we were playing that song.
Okay.
And that it was her favorite song. So crazy things happen that, you know, God's in control. It's not what we say, it's, you know, how God moves on people.
So what initially got you started doing this work?
Well, a friend, a very close friend of mine, I was at his house at Christmas time, and we have pretty much the same friends and so on, and on this refrigerator there was a picture of this young couple with a baby, and written on the sign was, "Without you, this picture wouldn't be possible." And I go, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Oh, I didn't tell you, my wife and I would go out to the abortion clinic. We spoke to this girl that was driving up to the abortion clinic and asked her why she was going, or even contemplating an abortion. She said, well, there's no way I can tell my dad that I'm pregnant." And he volunteered, him and his wife, to go with her to tell her that, and they did. Little did they know that she lived in South Carolina, and they drove an hour and a half from Charlotte to the house. And a result of that, the father and daughter were reconciled. Actually, the mother and father accepted the Lord as their Savior, and the brother, who was backslidden, who wasn't there, found out about it 2 weeks later and rededicated his life to the Lord. So when he told me that story, I said, you know, this is something I'd like to do. Can I come out to the clinic with you? Because he was going every Saturday, so that's how I started.
Okay. And what would you say to people who are skeptical about this? Like, they say, you know, we're doing it wrong, you're just yelling at people, you're judging the women.
Yeah, I would say that we're judging the women, we're encouraging the women to do the right thing. You know, we can say that, you know, we do things that are right in our own eyes. It seems right to the world, you know, and it just leads to destruction. But there is such a thing as righteous judgment also, you know, so it can go both ways. You can be a little more pointed in what you say to somebody once you engage them, but do it in love. We're trying to turn people towards God and towards doing the right thing, not trying to confront them and turn them off. We want to turn them on, not off. So we try to do it in a loving manner.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, or?
Yeah, I would say this, you know, a lot of people, you know, they know the statistics that it's probably 60 million babies have been lost here in the United States, and they're not aware that for the black population, more babies are being aborted than are being born. So Planned Parenthood was started by Margaret Sanger. She was one of the prime movers, and she believed in eugenics and the elimination of the black population. When you take that statistic, you would go, she's winning. It's very sad that she's winning. So what we're trying to do is shine a light in some dark places that people look at us as maybe protesters, because maybe in the beginning the pro-life movement had or were considered protesters. We're not protesters, we're advocates for women, where I feel that abortion is anti-advocate for women. I mean, what could be more degrading or dehumanizing than to take the life of your own child? God never intended any of us to decide who lives or who dies, especially your own child. So these are things that we try to get across to the women that drive up here.
All right. Cool. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm gonna get a little bit because I don't have a mic on me.
I'm gonna get close now.
So this is my friend Matt, and this is his first time out here, and so just to ask him what his thoughts are, and it was his first time open airing too. So,
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it? On all that?
It actually felt a lot more natural than what I thought it would be. I didn't have anything planned or scripted or anything like that. Just listening to Steve, and obviously I've been listening to a lot of Apologia stuff, so just trying to regurgitate a lot of the stuff that I've heard Jeff Durbin and Zach Morgan and all those guys do. And right before I get up there, that God would just kind of take over my vocal cords and just whatever. And yeah, it felt very natural. I looked down at my watch and I think I'd been up there for about 18 minutes, so it went by really quick. But it is not as intimidating as what you may think it is, and it's so worth it. When you really get the reality of what you're doing. You're here, you're saving babies, you're preaching the gospel, and you really grasp that. It kind of overrides all of the, the nervousness and the intimidation out of it. So, God's got it. It's what He's willed for us to do, is to be out here and proclaiming the gospel. And I think if we're faithful to do that, then He'll give us everything that we need to accomplish it. So,
did you have any preconceptions about what it might be like?
I was expecting a little bit more pushback, which I think that may be a little more typical as far as protesters, the pro-choice feminist. I think you guys had a unicorn out here at one time, and the tiger. Yeah, so I think I was expecting a little more of that, and I'm sure that'll come. But nah, preaching over the fence I think it's a little bit different situation with the the fence and all, but which I think it actually makes it a little more fulfilling because there's more challenges involved. So, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the dialogue with the pro-choice people as well.
Okay, so you didn't have any we're chaining ourselves to the front door or anything like that?
No, not yet. So, yeah, but I'm really grateful for you and Steve. It's just amazing how God, lined that whole thing up. I'm still kind of amazed and confused on how that happened, but nevertheless, here we are.
God.
Yep, that's about it. So I'm excited, and I'm in it for the long haul. So hopefully we can get some more people out here and show them that there's really nothing to be scared of, and God's got it, and He'll give us what we need to accomplish His will.
So was it Apologia and Jeff Durbin, all that got you kind of steered you in this?
Yeah, it absolutely was. So obviously, you want to play with that? Obviously, being a Christian, you're supposed to be pro-life. But I think I kind of bought into the idea that the only difference that I can make is going to be at the polls when it comes time to vote. And historically, that's not accurate, because there have been times where the House, the Senate, and all were majority Republican, and yet 61 million babies have been murdered since Roe v. Wade. So boots on the ground, I think that's really the way to do it. And for me personally, it was being introduced to Apologia, and Durbin and Zach especially. I've actually got to talk to him several times over the phone, and Desi, and just watching what they're doing. God really used that ministry to fuel me, and then by God's grace and His sovereignty, you guys came into the picture, and so here we are on a Saturday morning in Greenville.
Well, praise God.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Okay, so continuing my tour. This is kind of like driveway area where cars are driving in and out, where we stand to chat to them. Have some literature. Okay, hold on. Our babies are murdered here sign. Alright, you're gonna get, this blue is my daughter's stroller, the top of her stroller, as I'm walking. But then we have this, see, we have a unique layout here, because there's this long corridor, and then you gotta go up the hill to get over that fence, which I'll go up there and show you more detail, in order to preach over the fence and engage people over the fence. So our only contact points are the driveway and up to that hill, where it's, I know in a lot of other places, they can get right by the front door, but here it's a little bit tricky. We gotta maneuver a little bit, and but we work with it. So, all right, I'm just gonna walk down this long corridor and strap Shiloh onto me and climb up. If you can hear that, that's my husband preaching in the background. So climb up and kind of give you a closer view of what it's like over there. Oh, I just want to point out that Someone literally carved these steps so we can make it easier to go up the hill. There's a way you can go up on the other side as well, but this is a faster way, so we go mountain climbing here. Alright, I've just climbed the hill, so I'm gonna show you the other part of this, which is going up the hill and the preaching. Alright. So that's kind of the jungle we have to work through. And Steve sometimes brings a pair of hedge trimmers just to trim some of it away. But up here, you're dealing with those thorny bushes again. No, here it is again. See, they've planted them. See the size of those thorns? So they've planted these all along the fence here. So we can't, to try and stop us from going with the ladder. So you got to deal with that. You got to deal with there's bees and wasps in the summer because we're in South Carolina, and this is bug central. So you usually have wasps flying around you, which is scary because I am deathly afraid of things with stingers. But you just kind of go through it and hope you don't get stung. Okay. So here we have, here's a little clearing where we keep the bushes back and all that. So this brown fence was the original fence. We've been out here for 4 years, I think, doing this, 4 or 5 years. So this brown fence was the original one when we got out here, and obviously it was pretty easy to get over. We didn't have to have the big old like 8-foot ladder. And then I think 2 years ago, after a Fall for Greenville event that we had, there was a lot of us here. There were probably like 40 or 50 of us here, all lined up at the bottom of the hill with signs. Switching this up a little so you can see me talking, so it's not boring just looking at a fence. I'm not good with this camera stuff, so as I said, that's part of my YouTube presence. But a lot of being out here is just being a presence. So standing and holding a sign, because we had like 40, 50 people here. People were just driving off from the sight of seeing, oh, there's 40 people out here with signs. But anyway, this second fence behind me, this higher one, came after that Fall for Greenville outreach a couple years ago. So this is what they do. They kind of build fences, and they think that can keep the light of God's word and his truth out. So it's like a little fortified like fortress. And you know, why are they building fences? Because ultimately, you know, they know what they're doing is wrong. They know they're murdering babies. They know what's going on here, so they have to hide it. And there's so many verses in the Bible that talk about how we love our sin, how the darkness hates the light. So this is, the architecture here is just a literal, like, good visual picture of that. So yeah, so that fence came, and then I think shortly after, you know, we just got a taller ladder. So there's our, look at this. There's our 8-foot ladder right there. So we're like, well, you know, we'll just get a taller ladder. And then I think Steve was like the first person to pop his head up over that new fence, and the nurses, there was a nurse outside smoking a cigarette, and like she saw him and she was not having it. She was clicking pictures and went inside to tell all the other staff and all that. And like, yeah, a fence is not going to stop God or his word or us from coming out and ministering the gospel and trying to save those babies. So yeah, this is kind of the other element of it. And I have a clip of Steve preaching on a prior event that I'll clip on to the back of this. So I just want to quickly show some of the other equipment too. So this is our kind of, this is our little setup. We have our cooler that we keep all our supplies in because we're ghetto. We're rednecks out here. That's how we do it. Keep our evangelism supplies in a cooler. And we have the half-mile hailer, and we obviously don't blast it super big, but we have it loud enough that we know they can hear us over the fence and in the cars, and they can hear us inside as well. Yeah, so we've had a lot of people here tell us in nice and not so nice words that they can hear us inside, and that's great. And Jim, who I interviewed earlier, he was telling me that the waiting room inside is very somber. It's like the air is really thick and heavy because, you know, people, moms and dads, realize what they're doing, that they're about to go and let a doctor murder their baby in their womb, which should be the safest place for a baby to be in this world as he or she is developing. So so we're thankful they can hear us inside, because we're injecting God's light and truth into that. And we had a couple weeks ago, we had a lady while Steve was preaching, she literally just ran out of the building, looked at Steve and said, "I can't do it," and she drove off. So and it's not anything because of what we're doing or because we're smart and clever. You know, we're just ministering the word, sharing the gospel, pleading with them to save their child in the womb. And you know, God does what he wants with it. He softens, as Romans 9 talks about, he softens and hardens the heart, and ultimately it's about his glory. So that's why we're here first and foremost, to glorify God. And you know, his word goes out, he will not return void, as Isaiah 55 says. So that's our first goal, and we want to save babies, and we want to save souls. And you know, people, like I said earlier, we're not chaining ourselves to the door. We're judging, but we're judging righteously. So everyone judges. There's no such thing as someone who doesn't judge. It's just, Matthew talks about, you know, just whatever you're judging in, be prepared to be judged in yourself. So I'm fully able to be prepared to be judged in abortion. So someone can look at my life and see that I'm not advocating for it, and I've personally never had an abortion. But obviously there's forgiveness for someone who's had and who has had one, and we are sure to include that as well in the gospel message. So yeah, so we don't want to be angry and like yell at people and just be legalists and Pelagianists and, oh, you know, you're going to hell and all that. And that is a true stereotype, but that's not the only stereotype. So that's why I want to do this video, to say, you know, there are those of us out there who want to have a balance and balance the law and the gospel with the motivation of love in our hearts, as I think everyone I've interviewed here has said, and the motivation to glorify God and to serve him in this way. And ultimately, sometimes you have people who will say, well, these mills are still open because the church isn't out here. You know, there's not a lot of people who are willing to come out here and do this, so it's the church's fault. But you know, in our Reformed theology and God's sovereignty says, you know, even if there's 100 people out here, this place could still be open if God wanted it to be open. So, and doesn't discount the work that we do, but ultimately we realize that these things are open, and there's evil in this world because God has orchestrated it. He is using it. He's not the source of it, but he is using it for his glory and to accomplish his will. So that's why we're out here. We have this opportunity to serve him, and you know, as long as it's open, we'll be out here as much as we can be. And we trust God and his sovereignty for that, to save souls and babies and glorify himself. And yeah, that's what it's about. So I hope this has given you more of a better context to what this type of ministry is like, and what our hearts and motivations are, and what's going on. And if you want to join us, just hit me up on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, or my website, wassuppresup.org, WASSUPPRESUP.org. All right, thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it. See ya.
Or emergency test, you can go next door. If you need someone to talk to, go across the way. There are doctors out there that care for you and love you. There are counselors over there that care for you and love you. The reason why they are there is because they want to help you, and they don't want you to murder your child. And it's free. Everything across the road is free. In a time now where everyone is financially strapped, no one knows where their next dollar is coming from, or questioning or concerned about where their next dollar is coming from. Next door is free. I can tell you what, this place right here, Greenville's Women's Clinic, is not giving away anything for free. There is a cost. There is a financial cost. There is an emotional cost. There is a bodily cost, physical cost, and there is a spiritual. I know you guys can hear me inside. I'll leave you with this. The scripture says that liars, thieves, murderers, homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom of God. You know, they don't know why. God is good. God is good. God is righteous. God is pure. He has created a nuclear family for a reason. For His glory, second, for the blessing third for this world. If you are here, you are lying to yourself about the child that is within you. You're willingly handing over your child to be murdered, to be slaughtered by two doctors, to be held for an earthly name. Listen to that saying that. God brings man and woman, one man, one woman together for a purpose of a family. Mother, father, children. All these are a picture of the gospel and the goodness of Christ. What is marriage? One man, one woman. Children. It's a picture of the gospel. Of God the Father sending His Son, Jesus Christ, down to gather His bride. He laid down His life for and paid for. To adopt those who are His enemies and those who have hated Him. The scripture says, unless we are saved, we are hostile to our God. Yet, God takes us as enemies, brings us in as sons and daughters, adopted. Man, if you're taking the boat, you're taking the bird. Again, go next door, they can help you. Save your child. So when God sees it as a blessing to grow His family, for parents to have children, all those other things that I mentioned, steal from God, steal from neighbor, and are set in a position of a way not to produce children. They're anti-children, anti-family, anti-Christ. Now I want to say that I was one of those people. Just briefly. No one is born perfect. We're all born in a state of sin. We're already born in a state of rebellion against God. But it's through God's grace that He takes those who are against God, those of His choosing, He brings them to Himself as His appointed. He does that to changing our hearts and minds, to turn to seeing God for one, realizing that God, seeing God's love and His mercy and mercy, the sending of His Son Jesus Christ, realizing and starting to have a hatred of the sin and rebellion that we have against God, that God has. And a desire and a want to turn and live a lifestyle of turning from that sin, trusting putting our faith in Christ who made our salvation, the one who's fully paid for our sin. Finally, having a wants and desire as one that is born again, that has had their heart and mind changed to do what is right, what is good, what is true, what God wants from us.